As we're talking movies with Jim Schembri, of course, just about to introduce a special guest. But
Jim, introduce us to your handsome guest.
Grubby, Dee Dee,
yes,
our esteemed listeners, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Luke Walker, the director of a fantastic documentary called Lasseter's Bones.
It's a good name. You sound like you should be in a Star Wars movie.
It is a great name, and it is a great documentary about a great topic. Luke, can you briefly describe what your film is about?
Sure. Now, maybe I should give a little bit of background about Lasseter, because this used to be quite a famous story, but it's kind of been forgotten in the last sort of 30, 40 years. Now, anyone under the age of 50 seems to think it's just the coffee shop in Neighbours, but they don't know who that coffee shop is named after, or is it the pub?
Yeah.
Lasseter was a guy who in 1930 claimed to know where there was a seam of gold in Central Australia.
Right.
He persuades these men to go out looking for it with him. And after a while, after a couple of months, they decide that they don't believe him anymore. He doesn't seem to know where he's going. And so they say, you know what, we're going home. We think we've given you long enough. Yeah. And he says, look, I promise you, I do know where it is. It's been a long time since I've been out here. Stick with me. And they say, no, we're going home. He says, well, I'm not coming with you. I'm staying out here. And if I don't find the gold, I'm never coming back. And he doesn't. He dies looking for it. Now, the following year, they find his body. And near to the body, they find a diary. And in the diary, he's written that he has found this gold again. And it's worth millions. But he'd give it all for a loaf of bread. And so for 80 years, people have been trying to find where this gold is supposed to be. And his son is, well, he's 88 now. He was 85 when I caught up with him. And he still goes out looking for it year after year, trying to find it.
It's a bit like the mahogany ship on the southwest coast, isn't it?
Well, it's a similar sort of mystery. It's a difficult riddle to try to get to the bottom of. And what I've tried to do in this film is, well, I mean, I was obsessed with this story for far too long. I was obsessed with this story for about 8 years.
Clearly.
The film took 4 years to make. I used to be an actor. And you obviously get far too much spare time when you're an actor, because I filled all my spare time with trying to solve all the riddles that Lasseter left behind. And what I've tried to do in this film is present you with all the information that you need to solve the Lasseter riddles and work out what happened to Lasseter and his gold. And I think that if you watch this film, you can work it out.
I'm seeing a great promo for this. One man's obsession.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a definitive answer? Do you know? I obviously don't want to give it too much away because we want people to see the film, but is there a definitive answer, or is it one of those ones like Hanging Rock where you make your own mind up?
Well, I want people to make up their own mind. I could give an answer, but I have to be careful as the director, because it carries weight, you see, because I've spent all this time going through all the information. But I think that there was a truth behind everything that Lasseter claimed. Through the course of his life, I mean, we track his footsteps throughout the whole of his life, and he was full of big ideas. The gold seam was the last in a long line of big ideas that he had. At one point, he claimed to have designed the Sydney Harbour Bridge, an absolutely absurd thing to say.
He's mad.
And this is why they fall out on the expedition, because he keeps saying outrageous things like this. And they think, what are we doing out here with this nutcase, this guy that thinks he designed the Sydney Harbour Bridge? Why are we out here with this lunatic? And yet, there was a truth behind that claim. And, I mean, we get to that in the film, and there was a truth behind his claim to know where there was a seam of gold, and I think we get closer to it than anyone's been for 80 years.
We have a call for you, Luke, and anyone can call anytime, 13 13 32, from Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Good, thank you.
Yes, Ruby Lasseter was my step-grandmother, and that was one of Lasseter's daughters anyway. He did have a family in America, and it's so interesting for our family because this all comes up from time to time. And when I saw it in the paper a couple of weeks ago, my sister said, are you going to ring up? I said, I don't know, where would you start? He was an amazing storyteller. He was a bit of a philanderer. My sister, who is 6 years older than me, probably remembers more than what I only know what's been told to me, but she remembers. But Ruby was a tough old bird, and she came across on horseback on one of their trips when he came to Victoria, and as I said, my sister knows a lot about it.
Sandra, so how do you feel about the fact that Luke has made this film, Lasseter's Bones?
Look, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, even though there's no blood connection, I mean, what happened with we called Ruby Auntie Ruby because she was my father's auntie, and then my grandfather, each lost their spouse, and my grandfather married Ruby. She has got writings. My sister told me yesterday that she's actually got copies of it where Ruby wrote down a lot of her, or a lot of her memories. My sister's got a copy of that. But they've also got heirs in Tasmania. Buell, I think, was one of Ruby's sisters. And I know she's got a lot of the paraphernalia because my father, in his wisdom, sent all his collection of goodies that he had about it, he sent over because he thought they were the true heirs. So obviously people have been in touch with them, I would imagine. But it's interesting. We thought we were famous when we were young, but really we weren't.
That's fascinating, Sandra. Luke,
Absolutely.
that must be lovely for you to hear from her. I just noticed your eyes sort of sparkled when she said all his stuff, the memorabilia stuff. Did you get to see any of the relics of his life?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough to track down quite a few Lasseter relics and things. Of course, the diary is the most exciting because why would someone write those words in the diary with their dying words? Why would they write that they found this gold?
Yeah, why would you bother? Why would you bother?
And what's interesting is that because my name is now associated with the Lasseter story, I'm easily Googleable and people can get in touch with me through my website. I keep getting information like relatives I wasn't aware of, or people that have a connection to the story will get in touch, and it's fascinating. It's hard to let go of as a result.
Walk into a radio station, people like Sandra ring you. I mean, it's extraordinary stuff, isn't it?
I keep hearing these terms, storyteller, and was he what we would commonly call a bull dust?
A yarn spinner. A yarn spinner, Dee Dee.
Is that what you're calling it? I'm calling
That's
it
nice.
all.
Are we open to the possibility, Luke, that when he
yes,
wrote that final entry, that he was kind of a bit delusional, that he just wanted to sort of leave one footnote to his life saying, look, I'm going to write this down, even though it might not be true?
Well, I mean, it's a possibility, isn't it? I mean, I really, again, I want people to work it out. I think it becomes hard to believe that Lasseter found the gold initially the way that he originally claimed as a 17-year-old man in 1897. It becomes hard to keep faith in that particular story. But he was trying to meet up with someone, a mysterious man named Johansson, which we get to in the film. And again, talking about people that get in touch with me as a result of having made the film. The museum, the National Museum in Canberra, got in touch. They'd had this painting that they'd acquired from an Aboriginal lady out in Lasseter country, and we know that Lasseter was trying to get to a mysterious rock hole. We know that he was trying to meet up with this mystery man. They never quite met up. We don't really know who he was or what their arrangement was, but in this painting it shows a white fella at a rock hole being speared. And the description of the painting by the lady that painted it, she says there was a white fella, he was looking for Lasseter. He went to a rock hole and messed about where he shouldn't have. He's finished up now. And so I've finished the film, but I was prepared to jump on a plane and go and meet this woman. I had to know more.
Yeah.
And I found out this lady had died two months after painting the painting. And so this is the way that the Lasseter story is. It doesn't want to be solved.
Yeah.
Just when you think you're about to get a piece of the puzzle, a vital piece of the puzzle that's going to solve everything, you reach out to grab it and it slips through.
And it just keeps you going, doesn't it? It just keeps lighting fires under you, Luke. Yeah. Can you sit there, Luke,
Sure.
while Jim gives us a review of the movie?
What do you think of it? It's a 4-star film, 4 out of 5 stars. It's a fantastic movie. What I found particularly interesting about the film, as well as the unpacking of the Lasseter myth, is the fact that you, Luke, have very cleverly worked your way into the story, which is something that really great documentary makers such as Werner Herzog have sometimes done. So there's a wonderful subjective element to it that kind of deepens the mystery of the film.
And I found myself more, it wasn't my original intention, but I found myself more and more being on camera, and I realised that I needed to take you on the journey, and in order for you to be as fascinated by this riddle, you needed to see me trying to solve the riddles and go on the journey with me.
And you've toured it to Brisbane and to Perth as well, and how's the reception?
It's going great, actually. Last weekend we had 260 people turn up in Perth over just two sessions, that was. We're into our 3rd week in Brisbane, we're into our 2nd week in Melbourne, so we're still playing at the Cinema Paradiso in Perth, and the Regal Twin in Brisbane, and the Nova in Melbourne.
Fantastic.
Absolutely incredible.
Isn't it?
I mean, if you're going to be obsessed with something, I think it's certainly a wonderful way to spend your time. Luke Walker, it's been wonderful to meet you.
Great meeting you.
Good luck with the success of Lasseter's Lasseter's Bones.
We got
Oh,
it.
they go in.
Pretty
Jim's
good.
given it 4 out of 5, and I can't wait to see it now.
That's a
That sounds absolutely
big wrap.
fascinating.
That's a
Thank
big
you
wrap.
for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Uh,